Hey, welcome back to the Drum Cave. My name's Stan, and welcome to my video, how to play that Danny Carey groove in 5 steps. First up, let's brew a coffee. Nice brew. Alright, so how to play that Danny Carey groove in 5 steps. Now what groove am I talking about? Well, it's that groove. It's that groove that when you heard it for the first time, you literally had an out-of-body experience. It's that groove that when you were 15 years old and you'd already left home in school, you were working full-time at a trellis making factory, so making walls of trellis for shrubbery and vines to grow on, and your workmate put on this album. Now, up until that point, you'd heard that band a couple of times, but it wasn't until this very moment when he put on this album at this point in time that when you heard this groove, everything stopped and your whole world changed. You walked over to the album, you pressed rewind, and you listened to it 5 more times to try and make sense of the groove. Yes, it's that groove. And that groove is the breakdown groove in Eulogy from the album Anima by Tool. So I went home that night, I sat on my drums, and I did not move until I could play that groove flawlessly. And that's what I want to show you today. So what I'm going to do here is keep it nice and short and sweet, and I'm going to show you 5 steps to play this groove, and I'm going to make it as simple and digestible as possible. Let's get into it. So step number 1, the primary groove itself. Let's just forget about the hi-hat lifts for a second and focus on what is the foundation of this groove. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to play the 16th note pattern, and what I want you to do to really get into the feel of this section is accent those 8th notes on the 16th note pattern. The reason being is that this has a huge fundamental pocket to it, like Danny's pocket is really good. So if we can just spend some time locking in the feel of this section before we even try and complicate it with the hi-hat lifts, then I think we'll be much better off going forward. It'll sound like this. So now that we've established the fundamental groove of this section, which to me really is the anchor of the whole thing, and we also understand the feel of the part 2 because we've spent some time working on that groove, what I want to do for step 2 is focus just on the hi-hat lifts as an exercise within itself. So we're going to play 16th notes on the hi-hats and then just do a lift every 3rd 16th note. It's going to sound like this. Great, 2 steps down, 3 to go. So when it comes to complex rhythms or patterns that involve multiple limbs, the way that I work on it myself or how I teach my students is I just compartmentalize 2 parts on their own first. So with that in mind, what I want to do for step 3 is do just the bass drum pattern with the hi-hats, and that is it. No snare drum yet, and it's going to sound like this. Alright, so you can really hear it coming together now. So what I want to do for step 4 is the same process again, but we're going to remove the kick drum, and instead we're going to do the backbeat on the snare and just hear those 2 components, so the snare and the hi-hat, and it will sound like this. That is 4 steps down and literally every component and every combination in which you could approach this groove. We are nearly there. So before we get on to step 5, I just want to point out that yes, this is a very complicated groove. So whichever point you're struggling with, just work on it nice and slow and be methodical and just be very patient and you'll break through. And now for step 5, we're going to bring it all together, but first we're going to play it nice and slow, which will sound like this. And then when you're ready, bring it up to the tempo of the song and it will sound like this. And there you have it, how to play that Danny Carey groove in 5 steps. Now, I was going to include a PDF of this groove, but honestly, there's so many free resources of PDFs of this groove. So if you can't find one online, which honestly, all you have to do is type in Danny Carey Eulogy Breakdown Groove PDF. But if you can't, just email me at stan@masterminddrummer and I'll be happy to send one through to you. Otherwise, check out everything I'm up to at masterminddrummer.com or over at my Instagram, and I'll catch you at the next one. Cheers.